In the world of coin collecting, only a few coins rise above the rest, not just because of their metal or mintage, but because of the stories they carry, the eras they represent, and the emotions they awaken. These are the coins that stop people mid-scroll, the coins that turn ordinary change into extraordinary history. From wartime survival to national celebrations, from humble 1-cent pieces to iconic designs recognized across generations, the top 4 coins are not chosen by chance. They are chosen by impact. Each one reflects a defining moment in history, a shift in culture, or a symbol of resilience that continues to trend among collectors, historians, and storytellers today. These coins don't just hold value in numbers, they hold value in memory, legacy, and meaning, proving that the smallest objects can carry the biggest stories. The Bicentennial quarter dollar, bearing the dual date 1776 to 1976, stands as one of the most emotionally powerful and symbolically rich coins ever released by the United States, a circulating monument to 2 centuries of national endurance, struggle, independence, and identity. Struck during a period of economic uncertainty, cultural change, and historical reflection, this Washington quarter with the drummer boy reverse was never meant to be just money. It was meant to be a reminder of where the nation began, what it survived, and what it aspired to become. Every time this coin passed from hand to hand, it carried with it echoes of Revolution-era drums, the determination of ordinary citizens, and the enduring legacy of George Washington, whose profile still dominates the obverse with quiet authority. Unlike standard Washington quarters dated with a single year, the Bicentennial quarter boldly displays 1776 to 1976, a striking visual statement that immediately separates it from every other quarter in American history. This dual date does not represent 2 minting years, but instead bridges the birth of the nation with its 200th anniversary. It compresses 2 centuries into one small silver-colored disc, symbolizing continuity across generations. The decision to replace the traditional eagle reverse with the colonial drummer boy was radical, emotional, and deeply intentional. The drummer, a young figure from the Revolutionary era, represents not generals or politicians, but the ordinary individuals, often youths, who marched, signaled, and sacrificed in the fight for independence. The no-mint mark Bicentennial quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally omits mint marks. This absence itself carries historical weight, as Philadelphia was the original minting city of the United States and the birthplace of American coinage. Coins without mint marks from this era often evoke a sense of authenticity and origin, connecting modern collectors directly to the earliest traditions of U.S. minting. Millions of these quarters were produced, yet their meaning transcends mintage numbers. Even in worn condition, the Bicentennial quarter remains one of the most instantly recognizable and culturally loaded coins in circulation. The obverse retains the familiar Washington portrait introduced in 1932, but when paired with the revolutionary reverse, it creates a powerful dialogue between leadership and the people. Washington's calm, composed profile contrasts with the dynamic motion of the drummer boy, whose raised drumsticks seem frozen mid-beat, as if history itself has paused for reflection. The torch encircled by 13 stars above the drummer reinforces the original colonies, reminding the viewer that unity was forged from diversity long before it became a national slogan. Collectors are often drawn to this coin not solely for rarity, but for story density. Few U.S. coins carry as much narrative per square inch. The Bicentennial quarter was released during the mid-1970s, a time when America was emerging from the Vietnam War, facing inflation, and redefining its place in the world. In that context, the coin functioned as a quiet reassurance, a small, everyday object that said, "We have faced uncertainty before, and we endured." That emotional resonance is a major reason why this quarter continues to trend among collectors, historians, and content creators alike. The drummer boy design, created by Jack L. AHR, broke decades of visual tradition. It was minimalist yet emotional, historical yet modern. The choice to depict a drummer rather than a battlefield or a famous leader was deliberate, focusing on collective sacrifice rather than individual glory. This design choice resonates strongly today, especially in an era where people seek meaning, authenticity, and connection to shared history. The coin's surface, even when worn smooth by decades of circulation, still whispers its message through faint outlines and softened details. From a numismatic perspective, the no-mint marked Bicentennial quarter exists in both copper-nickel-clad and special silver-clad versions, though the standard circulation piece is the copper-nickel issue. While most are not rare in the traditional sense, condition plays a critical role in value. High-grade examples with sharp drum lines, clear facial features on Washington, and minimal contact marks are increasingly difficult to locate. As time passes, fewer pristine examples remain, quietly increasing collector demand and long-term interest. Beyond value, the true power of this coin lies in its symbolism. It represents remembrance without nostalgia, pride without arrogance, and history without distance. It bridges classrooms and cash registers, museums and pockets. It is often one of the first interesting coins people notice in everyday change, sparking curiosity and leading many into the world of coin collecting. For countless collectors, the Bicentennial quarter was the beginning, the first coin that made them stop, look twice, and ask questions. The absence of a mint mark often leads beginners to underestimate the coin. Yet seasoned collectors understand that Philadelphia issues form the backbone of U.S. circulating history. This coin is not about scarcity alone. It is about presence. It was everywhere. It was meant to be everywhere. That widespread circulation ensured that the bicentennial celebration was not confined to parades or commemorative sets, but lived in daily commerce, shared equally by all citizens. As decades pass, the bicentennial quarter increasingly functions as a time capsule. It reflects how the United States chose to remember itself at a pivotal anniversary. Not with extravagance, but with symbolism accessible to everyone. The drummer boy does not shout. He marches steadily forward. The torch does not blind. It guides. Washington does not dominate. He observes. Together, these elements create a coin that feels timeless rather than dated. In the modern collector market, the bicentennial quarter continues to trend across social platforms, auctions, and educational content because it sits at the intersection of history, design, and emotion. It is photographed, discussed, debated, and rediscovered again and again. Each rediscovery renews its relevance. Each worn example carries invisible fingerprints of the past, hands that spent it, saved it, ignored it, or treasured it. Ultimately, the 1776 to 1976 Washington Bicentennial quarter with the drummer boy reverse is not just a coin you own. It is a story you hold. A story of rebellion turned into republic, of colonies turned into states, of ideals tested and reaffirmed. Its power lies not in what it is worth today, but in what it has always represented: continuity, resilience, and the quiet strength of a nation remembering its beginning while moving forward, one steady drumbeat at a time. Next up, the story of the 5-cent coin dated 1918, with no mint mark, is a powerful chapter in American numismatic history. Not because it represents the Jefferson nickel itself, but because it stands at the crossroads of transformation that would eventually give birth to the Jefferson design decades later. In 1918, the United States was still producing the buffalo, Indian head, nickel, a rugged, symbolic coin that embodied frontier strength, Native American imagery, and the raw spirit of a nation emerging from World War I. Understanding this coin deeply requires recognizing its place as a pre-Jefferson era 5-cent piece, one that laid the cultural and artistic groundwork for what would later become the Jefferson nickel, introduced in 1938. The 1918 no-mint mark 5-cent coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the original heart of American coinage, where tradition dictated that no mint mark be used. These coins circulated during a time of immense national pressure, war overseas, industrial acceleration at home, inflation, labor unrest, and social change. Every nickel spent in 1918 moved through hands shaped by uncertainty and resilience. While the name Jefferson nickel would not yet exist, the ideals later represented by Thomas Jefferson, liberty, republicanism, and intellectual independence, were already embedded in the national consciousness. The 5-cent denomination itself played a critical role in everyday American life. It bought bread, newspapers, streetcar rides, and basic necessities. In 1918, money was not abstract, it was survival. The nickel was durable, heavy, and honest, designed to endure hard use. The lack of a mint mark on Philadelphia issues has often caused these coins to be overlooked, yet they represent the backbone of U.S. circulation. They were produced in vast numbers, but time, wear, melting, and neglect have dramatically reduced the number of well-preserved examples. Although collectors today may search for Jefferson nickel specifically, many do not realize that the Jefferson nickel was a response to earlier designs like the Buffalo nickel. The Buffalo design, powerful but impractical, wore down quickly, often losing dates and details. This flaw eventually pushed the U.S. Mint to reconsider durability and clarity, directly influencing the decision to adopt a new design featuring Thomas Jefferson and Monticello in 1938. Thus, the 1918 5-cent coin is not separate from the Jefferson nickel story. It is a foundational chapter within it. Coins from 1918 carry the invisible weight of their era. This was the final year of World War I, and the Spanish flu pandemic was spreading rapidly. The nickel in a worker's pocket may have passed through factories, farms, railways, and military supply routes. Each mark, scratch, and worn edge is a silent witness to movement and struggle. Unlike commemorative issues, this coin was never meant to be saved. It was meant to work. That utilitarian purpose gives it a raw authenticity modern collectors deeply respect. The absence of a mint mark often leads beginners to assume a coin is common or unimportant, but seasoned collectors understand that Philadelphia no-mint issues define American monetary history. They are the standard by which all other mint issues are compared. In high grades, a 1918 5-cent coin with strong detail, full rims, and minimal wear becomes dramatically more desirable. As condition improves, scarcity increases exponentially. From a symbolic standpoint, the evolution from the Buffalo nickel to the Jefferson nickel reflects a broader cultural shift. Early 20th century America celebrated rugged expansion and frontier mythology. By the late 1930s, the nation sought stability, intellect, and architectural permanence, qualities embodied by Jefferson and Monticello. The 1918 nickel stands at the end of one mindset and the beginning of another. It represents the closing echoes of the frontier era before the modern American identity took hold. Collectors who truly understand the Jefferson nickel series know that value is not confined to dates after 1938. The roots of the Jefferson nickel lie in coins like the 1918 5-cent piece, where lessons were learned about metal composition, strike quality, and design longevity. Without the failures and successes of earlier nickels, the Jefferson nickel would not exist in its iconic form. In today's trending coin market, historical context is power. Content creators, collectors, and historians increasingly focus on narrative depth rather than surface rarity alone. A 1918 no-mint mark 5-cent coin gains attention not because it is misunderstood as a Jefferson nickel, but because it explains why the Jefferson nickel became necessary. That deeper understanding transforms an ordinary coin into a meaningful artifact. As time moves forward, fewer tangible connections to early 20th century daily life remain. Coins like the 1918 5-cent piece become survivors, objects that outlived the people who used them. Holding one is holding a fragment of a year that reshaped the world. It is a reminder that before Jefferson's portrait appeared on the nickel, America tested ideas, designs, and values through circulation coinage that reflected who the nation was at that moment. The power of this coin lies not in confusion, but in continuity. It teaches that every iconic design has a prehistory. The Jefferson nickel did not emerge suddenly. It was forged by decades of experience, criticism, and cultural change. The 1918 no-mint mark 5-cent coin is part of that forging process, a silent but essential link in the chain of American numismatic evolution, carrying forward the spirit of endurance, adaptation, and identity that defines U.S. coinage to this day. Next up, the 1-cent Lincoln penny dated 2007, with no mint mark represents far more than a modern copper-colored coin. It stands as a quiet but powerful continuation of the longest-running portrait in American coinage and a symbol of stability in an age of rapid change. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, where the absence of a mint mark signifies tradition rather than rarity. This penny belongs to a period when physical currency was beginning to lose daily relevance, yet the Lincoln cent remained firmly embedded in American identity. Every 2007 Nomad Lincoln penny carries forward the image of Abraham Lincoln, a figure whose presence on the cent since 1909 has transformed the smallest U.S. denomination into one of the most culturally significant coins in the world. By 2007, the Lincoln cent had already survived wars, economic collapses, metal shortages, design changes, and debates over its elimination. The obverse still displayed Victor D. Brenner's timeless portrait, serious, reflective, and enduring, while the reverse featured the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in use since 1959. This pairing created a visual bridge between Lincoln the man and Lincoln the monument, reinforcing the idea that leadership, sacrifice, and unity are not fleeting concepts, but permanent foundations. In an era dominated by digital transactions, the 2007 penny quietly asserted that history still mattered in everyday life. The No-Mint Mark issue from Philadelphia forms the backbone of Lincoln cent circulation. These coins were struck in massive numbers, ensuring that nearly every American would encounter Lincoln's image in daily commerce. Yet widespread circulation does not diminish meaning. It amplifies it. The power of the Lincoln penny has always come from accessibility. It is the first coin many children recognize, the first many collectors save, and often the last physical reminder of a time when money passed hand to hand rather than screen to screen. In 2007, the United States stood on the edge of major transformation. Smartphones were emerging, social media was accelerating communication, and global economics were shifting. Against that backdrop, the Lincoln penny acted as a constant. Its weight, size, and familiar design anchored people to a shared past. Even as inflation reduced purchasing power, the penny retained symbolic value far beyond its face value. It represented continuity in a world obsessed with speed. From a numismatic perspective, the 2007 Lincoln cent is composed of a copper-plated zinc core, a structure adopted in 1982 to reduce costs. While some collectors overlook modern zinc cents, experienced numismatists understand that condition and preservation are critical. Zinc cents are highly vulnerable to corrosion once the copper plating is breached. As a result, pristine, uncirculated examples from 2007 will become increasingly scarce over time, especially as many are damaged or discarded. What seems common today may not remain so tomorrow. The absence of a mint mark often causes modern coins to be underestimated. Yet Philadelphia issues define the standard of U.S. coinage. The 2007 No-Mint Lincoln cent reflects the mint's role as a guardian of tradition. It was struck with precision, consistency, and volume, ensuring uniformity across circulation. For collectors assembling date runs, mint mark sets, or condition-based collections, the Philadelphia penny is indispensable. Symbolically, Lincoln's presence on the cent carries unique weight. Unlike commemorative coins reserved for collectors, the Lincoln penny places moral authority into everyday transactions. It suggests that integrity, unity, and perseverance should be as common as spare change. In 2007, when political polarization and global uncertainty were increasing, that message remained quietly relevant. The Lincoln Memorial reverse adds another layer of meaning. Introduced in 1959 to honor Lincoln's 150th birthday, it transformed the penny into the first circulating U.S. coin to feature the same person on both sides. Lincoln seated within the memorial is visible even on the reverse. This subtle detail reinforces legacy. The man becomes the monument, and the monument preserves the man. In 2007, that symbolism remained unchanged, reinforcing the idea that some values are not meant to evolve quickly. Modern collectors increasingly recognize the importance of transitional eras. The 2007 Lincoln penny sits just before major design changes in 2009, when the reverse was altered to celebrate Lincoln's Bicentennial. This positions the 2007 issue as part of the final chapter of the Classic Memorial series. Coins from the end of long-running designs often gain historical significance as closing statements of an era. The power of the 2007 No-Mint Lincoln cent lies in its quiet endurance. It does not shout rarity, silver content, or dramatic errors. Instead, it represents consistency, memory, and national continuity. It is a reminder that history does not always arrive with ceremony. Sometimes it arrives as spare change, unnoticed, until time itself transforms it into a record of who we were. As years pass and physical coins become less central to daily life, ordinary circulation, cents take on extraordinary meaning. The 2007 Lincoln penny will increasingly be seen not just as currency, but as an artifact of a world in transition, a moment when the past still lived comfortably in the present. Its true value is not measured in cents, but in the story it preserves, a nation carrying its history forward, one small coin at a time. Next up, the 1-cent Lincoln wheat penny dated 1946, with no mint mark, is a coin born at a turning point in world history, carrying the emotional weight of victory, recovery, and renewed national purpose. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, where the absence of a mint mark signifies origin rather than insignificance, this penny entered circulation just 1 year after the end of World War II. It moved through a nation healing from sacrifice, welcoming soldiers home, rebuilding industries, and redefining daily life. At the center of this small bronze coin stands Abraham Lincoln, whose image had already guided Americans through war, depression, and uncertainty for nearly 4 decades by 1946. The wheat penny design, introduced in 1909, had become deeply woven into American consciousness by the mid-20th century. The obverse portrait of Lincoln, calm and resolute, symbolized unity after division, while the reverse, 2 simple wheat ears framing the words 1 cent, represented abundance, labor, and the dignity of the working class. In 1946, those symbols resonated powerfully. Farmers returned to fields, factories shifted from wartime production to consumer goods, and families focused on growth rather than survival. This penny was not just currency, it was reassurance in metal form. A 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny is a Philadelphia issue, and Philadelphia coins formed the backbone of American circulation. Millions were struck, yet mintage numbers alone cannot measure significance. These pennies passed through grocery stores, gas stations, diners, rail stations, and post offices at a time when every cent mattered. Inflation was low, wages were modest, and the penny still had purchasing power. Each coin experienced real use, real friction, and real life. That everyday wear is what gives surviving examples their authenticity. Numismatically, the 1946 wheat cent is composed primarily of copper, marking a return to traditional composition after wartime steel cents and metal conservation measures. This return to copper itself symbolizes normalization. The nation was no longer improvising, it was stabilizing. The weight, color, and ring of the coin felt familiar again, reinforcing a sense of normalcy for a population exhausted by years of rationing and uncertainty. Collectors today often overlook post-war wheat pennies, assuming they are too common to matter. Yet experienced numismatists understand that context creates value. The 1946 wheat penny represents the first full year of peacetime coinage after global conflict. It captures the emotional shift from survival to optimism. In high-grade condition, with strong wheat lines, sharp lettering, and minimal surface marks, these coins become increasingly scarce. Copper coins are vulnerable to environmental damage, cleaning, and circulation wear, making pristine examples far less common than raw mintage figures suggest. The absence of a mint mark often causes confusion among beginners, but seasoned collectors recognize Philadelphia issues as the standard reference for U.S. coinage. The no-mint 1946 wheat penny is not an error or anomaly, it is the baseline. It defines what the Lincoln wheat cent was meant to look like at that moment in history. Any deviation from it is measured against the standard. Symbolically, the wheat reverse holds special power. Wheat is a universal symbol of sustenance, growth, and renewal. In 1946, those themes were not abstract. They were lived realities. Families were growing, suburbs were expanding, and the foundations of the modern American middle class were being laid. The wheat ears on this penny quietly mirrored that expansion. They did not celebrate conquest or power, but nourishment and continuity. The Lincoln portrait itself adds another layer of meaning. Lincoln had guided the nation through its greatest internal conflict, and his presence on the cent during the aftermath of a global war reinforced the idea that unity must be preserved after victory, not just during struggle. His image on a humble 1-cent coin emphasized democratic values. Leadership belongs not only in marble monuments, but in the pockets of everyday citizens. From a storytelling perspective, the 1946 wheat penny is exceptionally powerful. It marks the closing chapters of the wheat cent series, which would end in 1958. As such, it belongs to the final generation of pennies that carried this iconic agricultural design. Coins near the end of long-running series often gain historical gravity over time, as they represent the last echoes of an era rather than its beginning. In today's trending coin culture, collectors and content creators increasingly focus on emotional history rather than just rarity. The 1946 no mint mark wheat penny fits perfectly into this narrative-driven approach. It tells a story of return, rebuilding, and quiet confidence. It does not shock with extreme value, but it resonates with meaning, making it ideal for long-form storytelling, educational content, and legacy collections. As physical cash slowly fades from daily use, coins like the 1946 wheat penny take on new importance. They become tangible reminders of a time when money was personal, local, and physical. Holding this coin is holding a survivor, an object that outlived the generation that minted it, spent it, and relied on it. Its surfaces carry invisible fingerprints of history. Ultimately, the 1-cent Lincoln wheat penny of 1946, with no mint mark, is powerful not because it is rare, but because it is real. Real history, real recovery, real continuity. It stands as a small but enduring witness to a nation stepping out of war and into hope, carrying forward its values in the simplest form possible, 1 cent at a time.